Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Poncho Smith here, and we are about to get ready on episode 4 of the Her Lullaby Let's Read. So, in our previous episode, we accomplished quite a bit. Namely, we ended up not killing anyone or ourselves, which is a rather momentous thing. Particularly given how the game has proceeded to this point. Now, at the end of the previous episode, something interesting happened, where it usually says, new game continue. We instead have the option to wake up. So let's go ahead and get the ball rolling on that. And we are back in the basement again. Now we just need to hash out who's speaking here, because I think the perspective changes. During most of the game, we have the perspective of Sal, and we're talking as her. But I think it's a little different here. My head was a bloody mess. Did I hit the pub too hard last night? Did somebody slip me something? No, that wasn't right at all. There was no way I'd go out with finals breathing down my neck. Or at least if I did, there was no way I'd get this bombed out. The last thing I remembered... Wait, no. I knew I didn't go out last night. Laurie stayed over. We spent the evening curled up in my bed together looking for terrible movies on Netflix to take the piss out of and fooling around. Neither of us had more than a sip of water or soda, and I knew we weren't getting high. My head just wouldn't stop pounding. I couldn't focus on anything. My thoughts were scattered and racing a mile a minute. At least the dizziness and blurry vision seemed to be letting up, if only a little. But that wasn't making me feel any better because... This wasn't my room. This was definitely where I went to sleep. This place was... foul. It was so dark and dusty, a chill hung in the air I could feel biting at my skin even through my coat. There was a stench in the air that made me feel nauseous. How did I get here? And where's... Laurie? I called her name. No response. I'd figured as much. As I began to get my wits about me, I assessed my situation in more detail. Finding the energy to get myself to stand, I instinctively dusted off my coat. As I rose from the ground, I heard a metallic clanging noise near my feet. I looked down and instinctively picked up a shining object. And there's the other knife. What in the world? I stumbled a few steps backwards, dropping the knife I'd just picked up, holding the sides of my head as static rang in my ears momentarily. Oh. What in the world? Where did that come from? Did I have that on me for some reason? I didn't own anything like that at all. I had some cutlery in the kitchen back at home, but none of them looked deadly like this thing. I shook my head and slapped my cheeks, trying to recompose myself. I took a few steps forward and cautiously recollected the knife. I didn't really know why. I'd never have the guts to use this thing if something bad were to happen. For some reason, it felt comforting. No, just don't. Think about it too much. I began exploring the strange space I'd somehow ended up in, looking around, tracing my hands across the walls for any sort of exit. It really dawned on me how ordinary this place seemed despite the creepy ambience. Hello? Is anybody there? I'd kinda like to go home now. Again, no reply. From the corner of my eye, I noticed what looked like a door and immediately rushed toward it. I pressed my ear to it, but I couldn't hear anything coming from the other side. I lightly punched my fist against the door, hoping to get someone's attention. Hey! Is anybody out there? I'm kind of trapped in here, and I don't know why. Could you please let me out? Nothing. Still nothing. The silence was really starting to get to me. I could feel my breathing and heart rate hastening, and the nervous tightness in my chest grew in intensity by the second. I realized my efforts at banging the door any further wouldn't bear fruit, and decided to walk toward the opposite side of the room from where I woke up. After only a few steps and a quick glance towards the opposite wall, I quickly noticed. Is that? Lying near the opposite wall, I saw a figure, a human-shaped figure. From where I stood, I couldn't tell much, but clearly there was someone else here I hadn't noticed slumped up against that wall. My chest tightened even more as I considered stepping closer. What if this is the person that brought me here? My fingers gripped the knife on their own as I slowly took a step forward. What was I even doing? What was I really doing to do with this thing if something happened? What was I really doing to do? Lovely. I had no real answer to those questions. It just felt comforting. I approached slowly, barely breathing, with light steps. Finally, despite the terrible lighting, they were within view. They looked female. Dark skin, longish shoulder-length black hair that flowed over her face, obscuring it from view. She was wearing a reddish t-shirt over a dark grey sweater, dark blue jeans, and a pair of ankle-high boots. She wasn't moving. Was she? What the? Was that? I couldn't believe I'd been so careless. I reached into my right pocket and immediately felt the familiar shape of my cell. A wave of comfort washed over me as I quickly removed it from my pocket and looked at the display. Still working. Thank God. I quickly swiped my thumb across the screen to unlock the device. Huh? Who? I fired off a reply without really thinking about it. Once I'd sent the text to this unknown number, I accessed the phone's dial pad and called 911. Surely this qualified as an emergency situation. With any luck, they could use GPS to find and rescue me. After several seconds of silence, "Oh, sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try your call again." What? I frantically dialed 911 once again. Really, there's no way someone should be able to mess this up, but maybe in the heat of the moment "Oh, sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try your call again." Again? This made no bloody sense. I knew I was receiving some kind of signal because I could send and receive text messages, and I knew I dialed the right number twice. What on earth was going on here? Another message? What? Did you even... How am I? Does this person even read what I just sent? I shot off another reply, this time trying to relay a very real sense of urgency. And that about sums it up pretty succinctly. I slid the phone back into my pocket and looked over at the girl lying against the wall. She hadn't moved, and from where I was standing, I wasn't sure if she was even alive. That wasn't even a thought I should have had. If I was stuck in some dingy basement with a dead girl, then it'd certainly mean that soon there'd be 2 dead girls. I continued toward her, pausing for several seconds between steps to build up my courage. I knew there was no way this would end well. I finally stood within arm's reach of her. I feared at any moment she would spring to life and grab my leg like in some terrible horror movie. But she remained still, as ever. I bit my lower lip and took a deep breath as I leaned down for a closer look. My fingers clenched the knife as I bit my lip even harder, reaching out a hand to brush her hair aside and touch her forehead. She was still warm. That's a good sign? Next, I pressed my fingers to her throat to check for a pulse. Her heart was clearly beating, so at least my new friend wasn't dead, which was only a slight relief. There were still so many questions that needed answers, and my worries and nerves only grew worse with each passing second. Hey, are you okay? God, my voice sounded so weak and timid. My fear was taking over. My hands and knees shook so badly that someone might think I was freezing to death if they saw me. Come on. You have to wake up, okay? I reached out toward her once again, grabbing onto her shoulder in an attempt to jostle her awake. But she just laid there, completely unresponsive to all my attempts to rouse her. I think someone's trying to twist her arm here. Ah! I lost my footing once more, stumbling backward as the most pathetic whimper imaginable escaped me. Please, stop. I didn't even know who I was pleading with. The ringing in my ears became and went in short bursts, and my vision continued clouding over. My heart raced and my teeth clenched tight. My arms curled around my body to stop the shaking. Oh, they're really insistent on this now. What? The shaking was too much to handle at that point, and my heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. My head and ears ached with the terrible sound of distortion and static. Focusing on anything at all felt impossible. At some point, it stopped being frightening. I started feeling irritated at the sound in my ears that wouldn't stop and the relentless pounding in my head. Rage boiled inside of me. I'd never felt anything like it before in my entire life. My nostrils flared as I looked down at the unconscious girl peacefully sleeping through all of this. Why me? Why am I the only one that's suffering? Looks like we disappointed whoever that is. I let out a shriek that echoed through the room and painfully back into my own eardrums, holding my head as my legs stammered to maintain balance. I threw the phone as hard as I could into the darkest corner I saw, hearing it smash to bits against the wall and floor. No matter how much I screamed or pounded my fist against the door, the rage inside me refused to subside. Nothing was good enough. Nothing. Nothing at all. The only things I knew at this moment was that I wasn't getting out of here and that I hated everything. Especially her. Even through all of that, though, more than anything, I was scared. Between brief fits of rage, tears fell from my eyes. I didn't want to die here. Not like this. There were so many things I still wanted to do. And I saw no way out of here. No resolution, not a single sign of hope. My body felt heavy. Thrashing about wasn't doing me any good. I meekly made my way up back to the wall I'd been sitting against when I first came to. I was doing everything in my power to keep my eyes off her. The more I looked at her, the more... So, I just... closed my eyes. I curled myself into a little ball, wrapping my arms around my legs and burying my face into my knees. The anger had mostly waned, but my fear hadn't. I couldn't stop the tears. All I could do was... Ugh. Hurts. From across the room I could hear her coming to. And from the sound of it, she was having about as bad a time as I had earlier. She was rubbing and holding her head, rocking back and forth, and trying to sit herself upright to get her bearings. She really had no idea about the nightmare she was about to wake up to. I said my head fucking hurts! Well, that was certainly something. So, we got a new perspective on the story from Tocco's perspective. I don't think that quite unlocked anything, but let's go back. And looks like we're back at Start New Game. So I think that'll do it for episode 4. Thank you for stopping by, and hopefully we can untangle more of what's going on, particularly our supposed assailant. Hopefully we get some get more of a reveal on that before too long. Alright, take care.